Whew. So this is freaking amazing. I'm going to warn you, if you haven't seen this already, it's going to be like, whoa, my God. There is so much cool stuff in here to go over, so let's try to start somewhere. Focus, girl, focus. Okay, so I guess first we should actually watch the scene. What scene? It's a dream scene. Astarion's dream, to be specific. You can see it in Astarion's origin game, which I can tell you more about afterwards, but for now, let's watch.
The forest. Dark, cold, foreboding.
Hello? Anyone there?
First, thou shalt not drink the blood of thinking creatures. Second, thou shalt obey me in all things.
Absolutely. It's just that I was kidnapped by a tentacle-faced...
Third, thou shalt not leave my side unless directed.
You can feel the old fear turning in your gut, but you force yourself to keep smiling, as you so often did before.
Fourth, thou shalt know that thou art mine. Free. Lie to yourself, boy, but not to me. You are mine forever.
Cazador, your master. You have to get back to him quickly. If you're late, he'll flay you. Again. What will he say when he finds you can walk in the sunlight and he can't? And then it dawns on you. If you're free to walk in daylight, can you be free of Cazador too? Free of his rules.
First, thou shalt not drink of the blood of thinking creatures.
You look at your companions, sleeping, helpless. How badly do you need to know? You can smell the sweetness of her skin, hear the beat of her pulse. You try to control yourself, but it's too much. The hunger takes over.
What the? Back off, freak! A rat-sucking vampire. Just my luck. But all right, you sound sincere. But no more of this. Next time, it'll be a stake in the heart.
You smile, grateful. A lucky escape for you both.
Where do I even start? There was Cazador and his voice and the rules and the... What? You mean on Bite Night he was testing to see if he could actually drink blood and... What? What I would give to see from his perspective when he bites my Tav? Oh, okay. I need to step away for a bit and perhaps bite some more people so I can see what happens in every scenario as well as every possible way to talk back to Cazador. Just give me a second. Okay, I'm better now. So, the very first thing worth mentioning are those frickin' rules. They're almost like commandments, like Cazador thinks he's a god or something. Thou shalt not drink of the blood of thinking creatures. It's not necessarily an awful rule if you think Cazador is actually trying to be a moral vampire, but I highly doubt that's the case. It just sounds like it's about control and keeping Astarion low on the totem pole of equity. Thou shalt obey me in all things. So Astarion has to do whatever the heck this power-hungry jerk wants. Got it. Thou shalt not leave my side unless directed? Imagine having to cling to the smarmy a-hole's side 24/7. Ugh, it must have been an absolutely miserable experience. 200 years of that? What about when he has to go to the bathroom? Wait, do vampires even go to the bathroom? They probably don't. I don't know why I've never thought of that until now. But, well, if he had anything to do, he would have to ask for permission first. How ridiculous. Being as independent and stubborn as I am, I don't think I could handle that personally. It would really tear me up to have zero say in it as well, considering the whole vampire spawn part. It must have been maddening to have a semblance of self and then have to give it all up for someone you don't even like. And then the final rule, thou shalt know that thou art mine. So yeah, he thinks Astarion is just a possession, a thing to own. All of the rules basically reinforce each other of this fact. We knew Cazador was not a nice guy, but this all but confirms that he is despicable. And speaking of Cazador, we now know what that slimy scuzzbag looks like. And I have to say, I wasn't quite expecting this particular look. Although now that I've seen it, I think it definitely fits. Doesn't he kind of remind you of the Guy Fawkes mask from V for Vendetta? Seriously, you could just interchange them and poof. Okay, enough of that. But the reality is that it doesn't matter what he looks like, because I still just want to punch him in his stupid face. What's really heartbreaking is some of the dialogue choices available and things the narrator says in regards to what Astarion is feeling or thinking. Like when he hears Cazador's voice and the first option is to grovel, saying, "Master, I was just coming to see you." And when he gets to speak, he is fervently trying to defend his actions, like, "I got kidnapped, it's not my fault." As though the fear of what he might do is just too overwhelming, and he is just freaking out to be forgiven. There is even an option later to beg for forgiveness, and it just makes me want to cry. It's so hard to imagine our Astarion like this, and yet, there it is laid bare before us. It's a little hard to watch, but we all kind of knew something pretty bad was happening between them. What's worse is Cazador's response when you beg him. He just says,
Pathetic, as always. But at least you know your place.
I mean, what a frickin' jerk. There are some more fun options, like attacking him, but for the most part, you feel pretty powerless. Even when you do attack him, the hit doesn't land. It makes you wonder in what capacity Cazador is even there. Is it just the tadpole, or is Cazador somehow finding a way to influence his dreams? It's likely it's the tadpole, but given everyone else dreams about people they're actually attracted to, it's strange to me that Astarion is dreaming of someone who has subdued and tortured him for 2 centuries. And then there are the responses from the narrator, giving little bits of insight here and there, like this one line. You can feel the old fear turning in your gut, but you force yourself to keep smiling as you so often did before. Ugh, I can't take it. Nobody puts my baby in a corner. And then this line, I'm going to replay because the narrator sounds so malicious here.
Cazador, your master. You have to get back to him quickly. If you're late, he'll flay you. Again.
It's one of those moments where I'm wondering if the narrator is supposed to reflect what the character is thinking at that moment. But why say the words with such a nasty flair, your master, and so calmly talk about getting flayed again? Would Astarion really be thinking that way? I don't know. It almost sounds like the narrator is agitating him. So maybe the narrator is actually reflecting whatever power is behind the dream itself. It's an interesting thing to consider either way. But what's so cool about this whole scene is that we now know the pretenses under which Astarion first came to bite our Tav on that fateful night. It was so hard to tell where he was coming from, like, was he just being a jerk and trying to steal some blood while nobody was looking? I won't deny I kind of thought that might be the case, but then to see the options, to see the possibility of even just going off to find an animal because he didn't want to harm any of his party members. But even if he chooses to bite someone, it's mainly to see if he is actually free of Cazador. That and an act of rebellion against the first rule. So what it really represents at its core is freedom. It makes everything go together so much better. I'm remembering the bite night scene again and seeing it with fresh new lenses. It is so funny to me how Astarion stirs up all of these weird feelings, and some of them are normally pretty contradictory. Like, I won't deny the urge to want to keep him safe and just protect him after knowing what kind of life he had from that monster, Cazador. It's like a nurturing quality he invokes in me that I don't normally associate with a man I'm attracted to. Yet he still checks off all the boxes by being exceptionally hot and sultry, and then being hysterical with how he acts and responds to most situations. Him talking about the look on Mirina's face is still one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, yes! Did you see her face? Amazing.
You know, I always like to think about what makes a romance just that good, and so it's interesting to me to consider what makes me tick, and why some romances just feel so much better than others. I think in Astarion's case, it's like he's two people wrapped in one package. Because on one hand, he's very outspoken, having no problem in telling you when he thinks something is funny or entertaining, even when it's at someone else's expense. He can also be incredibly smooth and sensual, coming off as immensely confident. But he also has this part of himself that is weak, scared, and subservient. But it was only because he was actually forced to be that way. And what's really interesting is wondering how much his involuntary time with Cazador affected his actual personality. Like, how much has he changed as a result now that he has been allowed to have his freedom back? I wonder things like, was he into watching people get whipped before? The Abderac scene, you know? Or was he quite as power hungry before? Or was it just as a result of wanting to safeguard himself from ever coming under Cazador's grip again? Lots of interesting stuff to consider here. But now that I'm wrapping up this whole long tangent about Astarion's dream, I'm wondering about one more line.
What will he say when he finds you can walk in the sunlight and he can't?
It's an impressive thought. To say that he will be the most upset about that one element, how could any lowly slave be better than me in any way, let alone such a major way? Man, it's going to be so awesome to watch his whole story play out, and I can't wait to see if there are any more Astarion-specific scenes to find. For instance, I wonder what will happen when I find the Gur in the swamp, or better yet, what about the first Illithid dream, or all of the Illithid dreams? Jeez, man, I'm just so excited. It's such a cool thing when you feel like you've seen everything and then you find something new. But, oh, I totally forgot to tell you guys about how to see this. Since the Origin games are not included by default currently, you have to get a mod called the Origin Character Unlocker. I'll put a link down below so you can go find it, as well as a link to my video on how to mod the game in case you don't already know. I'm also really excited to see if there's anything new for any of the other party members in their origin story. I'm particularly interested in Gale's, and even Will's, considering he's got that whole Mizora thing going on. I'll definitely be busy with content for quite some time, that's for sure. Hopefully I can get it all done before another big patch goes live. I'm probably going to just sit down and get a ton of videos put together so I can get caught up. Then I'll take like a week off to recuperate. I'm also working on writing again, so I've been super busy. If you guys want to help support my creative endeavors in both word and video, head on over to my Patreon. You can join the ranks of these awesome people and get access to special content. I'm even going to start including chapters from my original romance stories on there too. I'm just about done proofing and editing, so that should be up there soon. I've actually been considering reading them out loud like an audiobook too, for those who like to listen more than read, so that'll be a nice perk. There's lots of of good stuff coming on the horizon for the channel. I also made an Instagram account if anyone is interested. The link is in the info below. It's mostly just going to be pictures and thoughts on characters from games, but just a more condensed version. Okay, I've rambled on for long enough. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.